Hey everybody, welcome back to our All the Things podcast. I'm Hannah.
Oh, I'm supposed to say something?
Yeah,
oh,
it's your turn.
Oh, I'm Kimberly.
And I am also Hannah.
We're easy to remember.
Yeah, you're 50% right.
All the time, 100% of the time.
I don't think I can handle this kind of pressure.
So you're gonna change your name, right?
Hannah,
Maybe.
Maybe Anna.
focus. Anyways, so as Hannah said, this is All the Things, and today's topic is coitus.
Coitus? What's coitus?
Coitus is sex. So let's talk.
I prefer, yes, definitely talking about sex, baby. But I prefer the term doing the nasty.
Doing the nasty? Doing the butt. Ow!
What was the new one we heard today?
I don't even know if I want to say it. It's so weird. So weird. But
Really?
What was the rumpy pumpy?
I challenge anyone watching this to use that in a sentence, not laugh about it, and continue in an adult conversation.
Rumpy pumpy. Hashtag rumpy pumpy challenge.
No. But seriously though, like, I feel like from what I learned as a kid to what I know now about sex is two totally different things.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And as a mom, I have an 11-year-old, and we're getting into the sex conversation now. We've had it a few times actually. But as a mom, my goal is not to raise a child that's going to be an adult, that's going to be a virgin until she's married. Like that's not the goal. The goal is to raise a young woman who is comfortable with having the sex conversation with her future partners and who can have good sex, like from whenever she starts having sex. Because personally, I started having sex quite late compared to most American women. And even still, I'm just gonna be honest, I had some terrible dick. Like, I think about my early experiences and I'm like, I don't think that should be a part of my body count because it was quite terrible.
Well, and these are my personal beliefs, but I don't believe that your first time should be after marriage.
And she's a Christian girl.
She is a Christian girl.
Yes, I am a Christian, but I was not raised like the church going every Sunday kind of Christian. And I don't know, I just don't think that your first time should be after marriage, because I had a friend that waited till after marriage. Her and her husband they were both virgins once they got married. And once they did it, it was super awkward. They were both inexperienced and they both had a terrible time. She said it took a really long time for them to go and have sex again after that.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it took forever for them to feel comfortable.
And they waited all that time to have sex, to keep the sanctity of marriage or whatever the phrase people use, and they didn't even enjoy it. And then they waited to have sex afterwards.
Yeah, because it was so terrible in their points of view that they were like, this was a really bad idea. I don't know why I waited. They regretted their decision, and I feel like the time before your marriage, granted, like there's a fine line, but it's a time that you can really just experience everything. Have different partners. This partner is going to do something different than this partner, but this partner is going to do something that you really didn't like, but this other partner did something that you really liked. And so it's that time to really figure out what you don't and do like.
Definitely. I would agree with that. That because I I lost my virginity about the average age is normal. I would say Americans, that middle of high school, 16. And I was so uneducated what I thought what I was supposed to do and what the guy was supposed to do. Like, it was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I did absolutely nothing to make sure I enjoyed sex.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, well, it's done 2 seconds later.
Well,
And
where did you learn about sex though? Like, where did you first hear about sex? Like, who taught you about sex? What did you think sex was? Like, all that jazz.
You can answer first if you'd
Oh
like.
man. I think I got it from just your normal school, that abstinence, no sex. These are the girls that had sex in high school and now they're pregnant, so now they're talking to you about abstinence. And that was it. It was abstinence, STD, abstinence.
Right, and then that, and I think my sex education, around the time that my mom and I would have been having that conversation, I had a new baby brother.
Mm-hmm.
My brother was just born. And so, of course, like, my mom and dad are completely focused on this newborn, and that's perfectly okay. And so I got lost up in the mix of learning all my sex education from my peers. And middle school was okay. I felt like everybody was really naive. But high school, freshman year, first day, this girl is talking about her vagina. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in a whole new world. What is this? And so my only education was my peers and the internet. And so I was not educated at all, really.
So the internet really wasn't a thing when I was coming at the room middle and high school. It was just becoming a thing, It was like hashtag rich people stuff. So like dial-up, AOL, chat rooms, like this was like, you had to actively let people know.
Way to show you.
You had to actively let people know that you were getting on the computer. So, and if God forbid you looked up anything sexual, it shut everything down. So, so that wasn't really a resource for me. So it was definitely media in the form of, like, I loved R&B and hip hop, and we talk about how, like, crude and, like, misogynistic and, like, how sexual music is now, but truth is, music has always been very sexual. When I think about the music that I listened to when I was, like, in the 7th grade, like, freaking Genuine Pony, that was my song. And I'm like, why was that my song? Super sexual.
Right. All the songs you listened to when you were younger that had, like, really sexual
connotations.
innuendos.
Yeah. So
I can literally sing every word along with Shaggy in Wasn't Me. And that started at probably age 9.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I know every word to Lollipop by Lil Wayne.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And I listened to that when I was probably, like, I don't know, 19 again. And I was like, oh my God, why did I know all these words?
Yeah.
Like,
So music taught me about sex, which is, like, the worst platform to teach about sex, because this is not like that school of what is that, the old school thing that taught you, like, the Declaration of Independence and
Schoolhouse Rock.
There's no
Conjunction, junction, watch your sexual function.
There's no Schoolhouse Rock for sex,
Oh.
though there should be. So I'm freaking listening to.
that's called sexual education in high school.
Yeah.
But that stuff was super sorry.
It really is.
Yes,
Because
I went to high school in the South, and they preached abstinence.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
And, like, mind you, like, there's girls pregnant in school, but they're preaching abstinence, right? And it's just, it was not like, it was co-ed. It's not an environment that you even feel comfortable speaking about.
No.
Like, you're not even comfortable enough in your own sexuality to be like, teacher, I have a question. I don't even know how to freaking function on my own period. Like, you know?
Yeah. And in my high school, it just wasn't talked about. Sex was not discussed whatsoever. And I don't know if that's because we were in the deep South and it's a big no-no, so you just don't talk about it. I don't know why. There was no sex ed classes, nothing. No seminars, no nothing. It was crazy.
So we went to school in the Bible Belt, but not you, so.
No, definitely not. Wyoming's a little rural to have good sex talks. But I don't think I really like came into my own, at least like knowing what I wanted with a sexual partner until I was in the Navy. And so like that was around my college years also. So it's that early 20s, like with the partners that I was like, oh no, we're never doing that ever again. I'm never gonna see you ever again. It was that bad. To like other people that I was like, oh, I like that. And now I remember that I like that. So I can communicate to my husband, I like this. But no, definitely not talked about at all in Wyoming.
I do remember one thing that my mom, like, because okay, I didn't necessarily tell the whole truth yesterday. We did discuss sex, but it was never like the birds and the bees talk. Like, I've always been a very mature person, and my mom knew that. She knew that I was smarter than my typical age range, so we never really had to worry about that because I understood the basics. But one thing she really, really, really stressed with me is when I did start getting sexually active is to have the STD talk. Like to not be afraid to request, go get tested.
Definitely.
And I am so embarrassed to say this, but I don't think I ever did it.
How did your mom know that you're having sex?
So to be completely honest, she didn't know when I lost my virginity. But my friend and I, we lied, said we were gonna go to my friend's house, went to a party, and now keep in mind, I'm a good girl in high school, straight A's, everything. I have never done anything wrong. But we lied, went to a party, I ended up having a one-night stand, and my ex was there and was jealous, so he ratted me out to my mom.
Damn.
I had no idea. So we went to my friend's house that night to keep the ploy. Went back the next morning, and my mom was like, where were you last night? And I was like, what are you talking about? We went to Kristen's. And she was like, no, you didn't. Because I know where you went. You went to so-and-so's house. And I was like, how did you know that? And of course, like my ex told her everything, like what I did, was taking pictures of me. He was very petty. And so she was like, so you've had sex? And I was like, yeah.
Well, shout out to Kristen for being the real homie. And Super Shady X for that.
We're just gonna call him Bacon and Eggs.
Yeah. So, and I mean, so at that point, I was pretty open with her about what was going on, and so at that point, like she knows everything. I've had talks with her. She's probably gonna listen to this podcast later and be like, "Oh my god,
damn you, internet!"
So yeah, that's how my mom ended up finding out.
But you didn't do the STD checks.
No. And I think for me, it was on an embarrassment level. I was never, because I felt like if I asked, I was gonna get judged by that guy. And you know, when you're a teenager, you just want the other person's approval, and you want them to like you and all this kind of stuff. So you don't want to be judged for asking for something like that. But now I was like, oh my God, that was not smart. You should have asked.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it was an inconvenience to that
agree.
person.
Yeah, I definitely think, for sure, I have not been tested the way I should have been tested.
No.
Since being sexually active.
I don't think anyone has been tested the way they should be tested.
I think the only reason we are probably tested is because we're a part of the military. Or we are associated with the military.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, having great healthcare is definitely a way forward to be tested more frequently. But even still, like now, if you have a normal PAP, it's what, every 3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's like, I mean, you two are married, so it's a little bit different, but like as a single woman, it's still the same for me every 3 years. And I'm like, I'm single. You don't know what I'm doing out there in these streets. I mean, I'm not, but the point is,
They start when you turn 21.
Right. I was like, and
terrible.
that's the average is, you know, we say people begin having sex, whatever, at, 16 is the average, 2 up, 2 down from that number. And that's a big gap between 21 to even 16, let alone 14
to 21.
Yeah,
that's insane.
And like, how many partners have you had? How many partners have those partners had? And this is your sexual health you're talking about, and there are some things sexually that just cannot be undone, right? And not to say that that's like a permanent curse on you, because I'll be honest, like I have friends who have been affected by herpes. They are actively living with herpes. And for them, because of what the world has said about herpes, because of that, like they have this cloud of shame. Like, I have herpes, I'm this dirty, terrible person. But herpes is an STD resulting from 2 people who decided to have unprotected sex. Like, that's it. It is, you do grown-up things can happen. And it's manageable. Like, it is something that you can live with. You can have unprotected sex and not give it to your partner, but they live with this like shame and embarrassment, and they're not good enough to be with another person because of that. And I hate that, because do I want to have STD? Absolutely not. However, if you have unprotected sex, it is a reality that could happen.
Well, and like just the idea of an STD period, like it's so shamed that the people that do have it and they get a new partner, they don't want to tell them. Because I've heard stories of like them knowing that they have something but not telling their partner, and then that partner finds out later because they get tested, and now it's a big blown up situation, all because that person was scared to be honest with their partner. It's just, I wish people talked about it more.
I wish people communicated about sex, period, more.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like, from your like prior sexual experiences being good or bad, though we hope they're all good. I wish everyone good sex. But at the same time, let's be serious. Sometimes you have the crappy situation so you know what's good.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like if you are not willing to communicate your past, you don't deserve to have a great future in that. It's that you're just stunting yourself farther backwards from finding someone that will accept you the way that you are. And that if you will be open and honest in the beginning, I have this is what I'm going through, this is what I've been through, whether it be an abusive sexual relationship to hey, I had a one-night stand, I ended up pregnant, I ended up losing the baby, this is something I'm super fearful about. If you're not open about those things, you can't expect to have amazing sex with a person. because it's emotional.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just physical.
Right. And that's why I am not down with the one night stands, because I feel like in order to have really good sex, you really do need to be able to communicate, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you, like, I don't know, you could have just some mind-blowing chemistry with somebody, you know, but like chances are rare, right?
Right.
So I think that in order to have some super duper phenomenal sex, that you need to be able to communicate, and that takes time and growing with one another and building a relationship with somebody, and you gotta talk about it, like for real deal, like
Yeah, because although I had a one night stand, it was definitely an accident. Did not walk into that situation intending that.
You slipped and fell on it.
To be completely honest, I got wasted.
Okay.
But no, I am definitely, I want to get to know you first. You know, because if you don't clash, or if you don't mesh personality wise, what makes you think that it's gonna go anywhere just because you guys might have good sex?
You're right.
And my mom, that's another thing that she really talked to me about is, she was like, I definitely agree with the sex after marriage, not a good idea, but she was like, at least move in with the guy or move in with the person, you know, get to know their lifestyle, make sure that that's, you know, what if you get pregnant and now you have a child with that person, so now you have a life together, whether you're together or not. So make sure you like that person.
Well,
at least a little bit.
Did you live with your husband before you guys got married?
We were kind of a special situation. We were best friends throughout high school. Went to Greece together for a week and a half. But we actually got together while he was gone in AIT. So he was only back before our wedding for about 2 weeks.
Oh, so that was a hard no. You
That was a hard no.
did not live together.
But
And AIT is like advanced individual training for military, right?
it's very.
I think so, something like
very
that.
Army term.
Yeah, it is the basically like the school to teach you the job that you're gonna do in the military.
Got it.
So there's basic and then there's AIT.
Got it. What about you? Did you and your husband live together before you got married?
We did. We lived together, I would say, at least a year and a half before we got married. And then he was sent overseas, and I realized how much I liked having a queen size bed to myself. But no, we definitely lived together beforehand, and that was something we found an issue with at our wedding, because there were ministers that refused to marry you if you lived with your spouse beforehand. And so not once did I ever consider,
And vice versa for us.
Oh, really?
We found ministers that refused to marry us because at that point in time that I was looking for a minister, he was not around.
Oh.
They refused to marry us. The only reason I found somebody to marry us is because we were good friends and I had attended the church. And he knew me personally and knew that I would not be getting married on a whim, just because I wanted to. So he was like, of course I'll marry you. I know you personally and I know that you're doing this because you love this person. So sure. And obviously it worked out well. We're still
going strong.
You still like his face?
Still like his face a little bit.
That's cute.
But yeah, you were saying.
And so it was something that had never crossed my mind before, that because my husband and I chose to understand that side of our relationship, you know, the who was going to do the dishes, and you know, that his laundry is smelly because he's a maintenance guy. Like those things that my hair clogs the drain in the shower, you know, what?
Oh, that hair.
Things like that, you know, can either really make or break a relationship. And those little things that like dig into like personality wise, I feel like you only know that by living with
Exactly.
someone.
Yeah, and that's what my mom has always said. She was like, you're not going to know whether them piling your laundry in a corner is going to drive you crazy or not until you live together.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
I did not live with my ex-husband before we got married, and I have to say now I would like to experience living with my partner before we get married. However, having my mom and my daughter as my nuclear family complicates things tremendously. Like, so it's like, how do you bring in boyfriend when mom and daughter also live with you? You know, because it's not really like, you're not really getting to know, like, you're getting to know everybody,
right?
You know?
I feel like Oma has to build a stronger relationship with your boyfriend than you do. Otherwise, it's like, get out.
Right. And then, like, you know, my daughter, she's 11 and she's amazing, you know, super duper amazing. But there's also that reluctance of like, how do I bring a man around her that has the potential to be a father figure, but also at the same time help her understand that, hey, this could not work out. So I want you to like him and grow to love him. But don't get
It's cool if you're cool with him, but if you're not cool with him, let me know.
Right.
And then it's like, then we'll go from there. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And then you put all of the pressure of that you have to have good sex on top of that.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
This is not gonna work.
Like, I don't think that the situation that my husband and I went through would have worked with anybody else. It was really shocking. Like everything ended up going really well. Like, our first time was before marriage, and it
Shocker.
Christian woman.
We love you, Hannah.
I'm right there with you.
I was a virgin until I was married.
Yeah, and I mean,
You
like,
liar.
and it went really well. And like I said, I don't think it would have worked that well with anybody else. But we had known each other for 5 years before that, had built a really close friendship, and then, you know, decided to take it to the next level and actually have a relationship. So there was no really getting to know each other at that point because we knew each other
Definitely.
really well.
Yeah, and essentially you guys have a really sweet story because you kind of grew up together. Like, not knowing that you're going to get married or anything, but like...
no. We were told throughout high school, like, oh, you guys are going to get together. And we're like, no. And maybe that can be another podcast as we can all share our stories, but... Yeah, it's definitely an interesting story.
Yeah, the Coitus have the sweetest story.
Done.
Yeah.
Well, so, we need to be wrapping up this episode, but, so...
Good sex, guys.
Yeah.
Guys, girls, have good sex.
Healthy, good sex.
Yes.
Like, protect yourself. Because, whew, child, I knew nothing.
I didn't know how to. People always in school, like they're saying contraception or abstinence, but they don't tell you how to get contraception if you decide to have sex. And so we were talking about this earlier, that my son, when he is old enough to decide that he wants to take that step and have sex, I want him to feel comfortable enough to come to me or my husband and say, hey, mom or dad, I am ready to take that step with my girlfriend or my boyfriend, you know, whatever. My partner. And I either need you to go buy me some or can you give me the money? And I want to be able to be like, sure, you know, thank you for coming to me and willing to tell me and knowing that you're going to have a safe sex.
He can also come to his aunties, and we would obviously do the same thing, and then tell you later which one he came to, because obviously
the favorite one.
They have an ongoing competition right now.
I'm the favorite.
No,
but you know what though? Like one of my good friends that I consider a sister of mine, her son, we found out that he was having sex and he was 7th grade. And it just so happened that his birthday was falling very soon. And I kid you not, for his birthday present, I handed him, in front of his mom and everyone, I handed him a bag full of condoms. And I was like, well, if y'all are gonna be doing it, like, and the girlfriend was right there too. They were mortified, but I'm like, but
I'd rather you have safe sex than not safe.
Yeah. But okay, can I just get real for a second? I have to like move stuff because I just need to get real for a second. You want to have good sex, right? And good sex does not mean noisy sex. But it oftentimes is.
I'm going to preface this that we all live in apartments.
Yes.
Continue.
Thin walls. So it does not have to mean noisy sex, right? But oftentimes good sex is synonymous with noisy sex, right? Oftentimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Now, I have a daughter.
I feel like a question is coming.
You have a son.
Yes.
Your auntie.
Yeah.
And big sister, big cousin to lots of little, not little, but growing people, right? Okay. Now, I get it. You're like, hormones are raging, middle school, high school. You want to do the damn do, right?
Mm-hmm. You want to have rumpy pumpy?
Rumpy pumpy. See, we
Hey, you can have an adult conversation. Hey.
But like, so you're trying to do rumpy pumpy, and I'm just okay. What I'm gonna get it out. I promise I am. The thing is, how do you, as a teenager, or let's just say teenager, as a teenager, how do you come to your parents and be like, hey mom, dad, auntie, uncle, whoever, adults, I want to have sex, so I need to protect myself so, you know, we don't get pregnant or whatever. And then, but like, where are you doing this? Because you can't be noisy. Like, whose house are you doing this in? I just, you know, for the record, I did not have sex in high school, so like, I don't meet this demographic. But I'm just like,
You're sneaky as fuck.
So, okay, so then there's another question, like, should you be doing the do if you have to be that sneaky about doing the do? Like, just because physiologically and hormonally your body's like, yes, like, you don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out.
So, you know,
you sleeping on your mama's bed.
That leads to, like, our virginity stories, though. Definitely, though. Like, want to leave you guys with a few things to think about. Is, are you having healthy sex? Are you communicating with your partner to make sure the sex you're having is the best that it can be and on a healthy scale? As well as, what was the other things we want to talk about?
So, I am a mom of an 11-year-old who, let me tell you, these kids are talking about sex way early. So my question to you, listeners, as a mother to these fast-ass kids is, are you talking to your kids about sex? How are you talking to them about sex? How are you monitoring their internet activity, okay?
Yeah.
And furthermore, parents, adults of people watching younger people, how are your children monitoring your internet activity? Because it goes both ways. It goes both ways. How are your children monitoring the things that are adult things in your home? Because, you know, we all have that one box. Some people have bigger boxes than others. So these are questions like I want to know, because my girl has a lot of questions and we've gotten into some heavy stuff. And I want to know the cheat codes because I don't have the answers and I need answers.
Bye guys, stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to All the Things with Kimberly,
Hannah,
and Hannah.
Bye.